Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Now, we know the SNP are going to suffer and struggle in Rutherglen. We covered that in the last video. But the extent to which this rot is spreading is quite remarkable, especially when you look at the age groups for which the most falling support for the SNP is occurring. It doesn't make good reading. Indeed, it makes for utterly disastrous reading. And anyone in the SNP who's paying attention to this will see that the writing is on the wall, and unless they turn something around and quick, there may not be an SNP for very much longer. It's a question really of the demographics, and the demographics for the SNP are not very good at all. We're going to take a look at this to see why, for the first time in many generations, in fact 3-4 generations, the SNP power base is going to weaken significantly. Here goes. Now, the reason churches and religions would ever always go after children is because children are malleable. If you can get the child, you get the man. That's the old saying, give me the boy until he's 7 and I'll give you the man. And that is why political parties are much the same. That's why they get themselves inveigled into education very young. That's why the left wants to push its things into schools. It wants to corrupt and brainwash children at a very early age to bring them round to its way of thinking. And that tends to happen a lot. But it's also something the SNP do, of course. But it's not sticking as once it would. The support for the party is plummeting, and as you see, Humza Yousaf is going to be in deep trouble. So Humza Yousaf's SNP support plummets among young and middle class Scots as tax hikes backlash damages the party. But the important thing is you're going to lose the middle classes because of your tax, but you're losing the young. The young are the ones. They're the lifeblood of the party. You lose them young, you're never getting them back. So the First Minister is facing a backlash from voters over his party hiking up income tax to record levels, which has caused support among younger voters and those making more than $40,000 a year to plunge. Now, as I say, if you're losing the young, you are in deep trouble, because once they go, they're not coming back. These aren't the children that will sit there blindly following you like some faith that happens. These are people that are old enough to make their mind up. Once they've made their mind up, they tend to stick, and so you are going to be in deep problems simply because of the demographics of your party. So the SNP is facing a new voting disaster after polling found that the young and middle Scots are abandoning the party amid a pushback on tax hikes. It is the latest headache for Humza Yousaf, who has already seen his vote share drop massively since taking over as First Minister. Research carried out for the Nationalists also found that Skexit is not a priority amongst those who still back the party, with supporters wanting them to tackle the cost of living crisis instead of focusing on breaking up the UK. It is a crushing blow for Mr Yousaf, who has said that independence will be line 1, page 1 on their Westminster election campaign. And indeed, most of the supporters of the party don't want full independence. And if your own party members don't want it, what hope do you possibly have? I mean, it is the final end to any hope of independence if your own supporters don't want it. The fall in support from Scots aged 25 to 49 will be concerning for the SNP, with this plummeting by 14 percentage points in just 3 months. It's understood that the rise in income tax for those living in the country making more than $27,500 is one of the main driving factors for this. And $27,500 isn't that great a wage. That's a standard sort of average kind of wage, isn't it? Previously, the party enjoyed the support of 52% of that age group when polled by YouGov in May. But asked again about it this month, that figure plunged to 38%, barely over a third from over half. Perhaps more worrying for the Nationalists is the rise in the fact that the proportion also backed Labour, who benefited from 12% point rise. Now that is the big swing. That's the swing that makes Labour possibly the next government of Scotland and puts the SNP out, to pasture. In terms of middle class workers employed in professional, managerial and administrative roles, they are also now less likely to back the SNP. YouGov found that support for the Nationalists had dropped from 46% to 35% among that cohort. That's because you're taxing them so much they can barely afford it. You are targeting that middle ground instead of the rich, because if you target the rich will just get up and leave. So you target those who are rich enough that you can be targeted, but not rich enough to up and leave. It's very cynical. Polling suggests that Labour has increased its support amongst those potential voters by 10 percentage points, which is up to 33%. And this echoes earlier analysis from the summer that Scots being hit by punishing tax hikes were choosing to desert the party, because people always do. They vote with their wallet. They vote with money. They look at the situation, they go, what is best for me? And the one thing they absolutely don't care about, is independence. They care about money. Money always wins. There is a saying that when economics meets politics, economics always wins. Ministers raised income taxes in April to widen the gap even more with England, and anyone earning more than $27,850 in Scotland already pays more tax than those south of the border, with this being increased to record levels, with a 2p rise on higher and top bands, which are now 42 and 46 pence respectively going forward. Previously, 40% of workers on higher salaries said they would vote for the SNP at a general election, but this dropped to 33% for those earning over £40,000 following the latest tax rise. Money, always money. Despite these stark warnings, Mr Yousaf is plotting to hike taxes even further to raise money for the NHS and also pay out more benefits, and therefore to lose power. He raises those taxes, he will lose the government. Research was carried out for the SNP, which showed that the First Minister planned to put Skexit front and centre of the party's general election strategy that could backfire. Of course it is, because most people don't care. They just don't care about Skexit. They want everything else. They want their cost of living, they want their NHS, they want their social care, they want the drugs problem done, they want communications, roads, transport. There's a million things before Skexit. And the SNP can't do any of them because they're focused on one obsessive idea. And meanwhile, everything else, and I mean literally everything else, is falling down around them. The research carried out by Kate Dommett, Professor of Digital Politics at Sheffield University, has been presented to the SNP parliamentarians and councillors. The party spokesman said the SNP has not and never will take a single vote for granted. It is by delivering on the priorities of the people that the SNP continues to be the most trusted party. And yet, strangely, they are not delivering on the priorities of the people. They're delivering on the priorities and desires and wants of the SNP, because they keep pushing everything through the lens of independence rather than getting on and doing their goddamn day job, which from the evidence of your own eyes you can see they're quite incapable of doing. And seeing how raising taxes is unpopular and his next move is to raise taxes even more, Laffer curve comes into effect. His tax take will go down. People who can avoid it will avoid it. They'll move south of the border, they'll move their business south or whatever. There's going to be a lot of financial shenanigans going on, and the tax take will fall massively. And then of course he'll be sitting there thinking, I've got to put the tax rate up even further, and the cycle continues, because the man is, and as I keep saying and as we all know, the man is a moron. And with that, I shall stop, I shall run off, and I shall come up when we shall finish the video. Of course, Humza can't help himself. He's a bear of very little brains, isn't he? He only has one tool in the toolbox, and that's a hammer. And when you've only got a hammer, every problem is a nail. His particular hammer, of course, is tax. And he thinks he can tax his way out of every problem. Well, the trouble is he can't. He doesn't understand that capital is free to move. He doesn't understand how simple it is to transfer businesses south of the border. Even if you're conducting your business north of the border, the business can be can be registered south and not pay tax on it, and therefore not pay the extra income tax on it because you're paying yourself out of a south of the border company, an English company, and so forth. He doesn't understand this, but why should he? It's something beyond his complete imagination that people are capable of doing that. As I say, he's a moron. He's an idiot, and he's surrounded by idiots, and he's surrounded by people who aren't telling him that he's an idiot and that he shouldn't do it. What do you expect? Well, they're making their own bed. They'll have to lay in it, and it's no fun of mine. So yeah, keep it going. But losing the support of the young is it. That's it. He's done. You lose the support of the young as a party, you are done, because you've got no one coming up supporting you, because they are increasingly abandoning the party at younger ages, and then nobody is going to be in your party. You've got no uplift. You've got no pipeline of new support, and the party withers and ages out. Basically, it'll be a party filled with old people with their old ideas in a new world. I'll stop there. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this video has earned that button and hit the subscribe. On the other hand, you may not, and if you don't like the video, you've made it all the way to the end here, I thank you anyway. Someone at my door. Till next time, bye.